According to John Locke, we as humans are born as blank slates. I believe this to be true because throughout our lives we experience things in a way that nobody else ever will. Each person will experience today in a different way, and no two people will ever live identical lives. This individuality is how we acquire markings on our canvases deep within ourselves that stay there forever. We grow and we learn from the impressions that life places upon us over time. It's the way that we and the people around us react to those life marks that shape the people we become. While the past has heavily influenced who we see ourselves to be today, it does not define, limit, or hold us back from who we choose to be tomorrow. In A Thousand Splendid Suns, and Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close, and in real life, we see people who overcome the challenges in their lives and amount to so much more than what their past has led them to believe. I come from a once whole and now very broken household. I grew up in the average picket fence home with a photostock family and nice possessions. I hadn't understood yet the concept of change, so when my brother died in a sudden car accident, it was an entirely new world I had to look at. Losing him was one of the hardest things that I've ever had to experience. It changed me and the outlook I had on life. It wasn't easy to adapt to life without him, but without a positive frame of mind and without the people in my life helping me get back up, I wouldn't be where I am today. My friends and my family have shown me that I'm strong and can overcome whatever trial life has thrown my way. I'm proud to say that I've become a better person since the accident, that I didn't let it swallow me into oblivion, that it made me grow and mature into the person I am. My past has influenced me in the way I see the world, but it does not hold me back from what I can be. Unlike me in Khaled Hosseini's novel A Thousand Splendid Suns, main character Miriam was born into a family that was never once whole. From the beginning, her disdainful mother had told her she was a harami, which translates to a child born outside of wedlock. The only happiness she had in her life was the connection she and her father shared when he would come to visit her every Thursday. We first saw her misfortune begin to escalate when her dad abandoned Miriam on her birthday. Looking for answers, she went against her mother's word and searched for him, only to be rejected from his home and eventually returned to her mother's corpse hanging from a nearby tree. The rejection of her father and guilt from her mother's suicide created a gash deep within Miriam. With no other option, she was forced to go live with her father, where he immediately married her off to some random man 2.5 times her age, where she lived a fearful life during the brutal war in Afghanistan. Miriam had always wanted children and a family she could be proud of, but after 7 miscarriages, she realized that she could never carry a child. When fellow wife of Rashid, Lila, had dreams of finding the love of her life and childhood best friend, Miriam saw her calling. She was born into nothing, but she died for something. After killing their abusive husband, Miriam gave herself in to the police and eventually died for the protection of the family she had gained. It was the support and motivation she received from Lila, her children Mullah Fazula, and even Jalil that helped her grow to be the woman she became. Miriam was born convinced that she would never be anything, but instead she died a hero, saving the lives of her family. Oscar Schell from Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close wasn't born into a poverty-stricken home. He had a happy life full of adventure and companionship with his beloved father Thomas. When he died in the bombing of 9/11, he began to let his loss define him when he started giving himself bruises to cope with the pain. One thing Oscar loved doing with his dad was playing a game called Reconnaissance Expedition, where his father would try to push the boundaries of his very small comfort zone. Although Oscar was afraid of more things than not, when he found an envelope in his father's closet with the name Black and a small key inside of it, he felt it was his obligation to his father to finish his mission. Oscar devoted a year of his time going through every person with the last name Black, and while he didn't realize it, he grew from it. Over time, after traveling all over the boroughs of New York and facing his fears, he overcame his biggest obstacle, coping with his dad's death. Oscar, the boy who was afraid of almost everything, didn't let the bombing of 9/11 scare him further. It did the exact opposite, actually. He found courage within himself to finish his mission. One great example of someone in today's world who overcame their past with the help of others is professional surfer Bethany Hamilton. She lived a happy life. She surfed every single day with her friends and family and lived her life the way she wanted. Until one mellow day surfing, she was attacked by a shark, which resulted in her losing her entire arm. Bethany's life was changed completely in just a matter of seconds. Instead of letting the loss of her arm consume her, she eventually learned how to adapt to life without it, and she became such a great inspiration to everyone around her because of it. She is the definition of someone who has grown from the trials in life and used the help and support from others to become something so much more. Everyone has marks on their once blank canvases, and while our past has a huge influence over who we see ourselves to be today, it doesn't limit what we can be in the future. And I think that Miriam, Oscar, Bethany, and myself are all examples of how one can overcome their past and become something great.